Cooking.
So welcome back to Superior Physical Therapy, and today we wanted to share our thought process on balance. We use a principle mindset when it comes to creating activities for people to progress their balance. And we're going to talk real briefly about the principles that we know are true as far as how the body works and how balance is challenged. And the first principle here is that we know that balance needs to be in three planes of motion. Our body moves in three planes of motion: front to back, side to side, and rotation right and left. So the first principle is balance needs to be in three planes of motion.
Right, and then it's also, balance is dynamic. We're not just standing still all day. We're moving, so we want balance to be moving. We want to challenge with movement, whether it be with our foot, our arms, our head, our trunk, our hips, anything. Movement's going to challenge that balance. That's our second principle of balance.
And the third principle would be balance is driven. Any task we do during the day, there's something that drives us to do that. So if you want to reach for something in a cupboard, your arms driving this motion. If somebody calls your name, your eyes are driving that motion. If you're walking somewhere, like Ben said, your legs are driving that motion. So when we think about strategies to get better at balance, we need to think about what's driving the motion.
I think one more principle might be that we do spend a lot of time walking, right? And so we know that walking is very single leg. And a lot of activities we do in the daytime require us to be on one leg. So our goal is definitely to, you would agree that I have more balance with both feet on the ground versus one. So we'll definitely show you some of that as well.
So we're going to start off with something maybe a little bit more basic, just to kind of get that balance going, feel it. We're going to get into maybe a half stride position, like we just took a step and someone hit the pause button. So from here, I'm going to drive this balance with my arms. I'm going to challenge myself with my arms. So I'm just going to start off doing a little reaching. And as you can see, I'm letting my whole body go. I'm not just doing this with my arms. I'm letting my hips turn. I'm letting everything follow those hands. Those hands are the guiding motion of this. So we're getting this front there, the sagittal plane, reaching out in front. We're challenging balance there. Next, we're going to go kind of over our head. Same thing, the whole body's moving. This is getting in our sagittal plane, our second plane. The last one, I'm going to reach across. I'm going to get some rotation going, or a transverse plane of motion. Then of course I'd repeat that on the other side, but it's an easy way to start to challenge your balance, kind of mimicking walking.
And the next progression from that is, as Ben showed, driving with your hands, which is a big part of walking, a big part of daily activity, but driving with your feet is also just as common. Now again, you're very stable here, but we're not going to accomplish much if we're just standing in one spot. So we have to be able to move. We have to be able to go onto one leg, and when we do that, our equilibrium gets smaller, so we have to be stable. So, same concept where we go in three planes of motion, but a way to drive that is to start from here, but simply reach forward, backward. So again, sagittal plane. We go side to side, frontal plane, as well as rotation. Now the key thing here is that the leg that's on the ground is the one that's doing all the work. Now as you watch yourself go about your day, you're going forward and backward a lot, but you're also moving in subtle ways in other planes of motion. And so you need to be able to do them all. Now if that gets too easy, then you can simply reach further, reach faster, or also get your arms involved just to give more leverage into this situation, challenge your hips even more.
Excellent.
You know, some other things that I like to do also, a combination with the arm drivers and the feet drivers. Obviously, as Mike explained, you can combine them both. You can also, if you want to get, a little more advanced or a little different way of doing a balance, you can use your head too. So if you take your head back and forth, use your head as a driver, just kind of changes the focal point of your eyes and stuff like that. It can also challenge your balance system too.
All right, then another one, we did a lot of focus on, extremities or areas far from our center mass, but we could even take it down a notch and say, all right, I know that my hips are my power source, and in order for my feet to move or my arms to move or my head to even move, my hips need to be able to drive motion. So just like what Ben and Mike and Keith all did, getting that stride stance, we could drive the hips forward and back, side to side, and then rotation, knowing that my hips do all this when I walk. My hips need to do combinations of all of these. Forward, back, side to side, rotation. And then you could even, you could change your step. Lunge out on that left leg, go forward and back, side to side with the hips, and then rotate. this would be the frontal plane. Then third, you could rotate. Again, drive the hips forward and back, side to side, rotate. So that's just kind of getting the center of the body, the center mass moving in order to, you know, provide stability and mobility for the rest of your body as you're walking around.
Excellent. So far we've talked about how we can drive balance with the foot in 3 planes of motion. We've talked about how we can use the hands to drive the motion in 3 planes of motion. We've talked about how we can use the head to drive and challenge balance in 3 planes of motion. And we also talked about how we can use the hip. And that's great. That's a great place to start. And we need to make sure that we have progression so we can start in a safe, successful zone and then progress our way and always challenge ourselves so that we're always improving our balance. And so any level of athlete or person can improve their balance. And so let me show you a way to take a common activity such as a lunge and we can add balance to that. So if I'm going to turn and face this way, if I'm going through my forward lunge, I can simply take that lunge at the end of the lunge and pick up my back foot and pause for 1 to 2 seconds and then come back and again 1 to 2 seconds here. I can also do that going side to side. So when I lunge side to side, I can take a brief pause when I get to the side here and balance. Again, this is kind of an advanced activity. And again, 3 planes of motion, I can turn and balance. Turn and balance. That was me finishing my lunge with balance. I could also lunge out and then come back to balance. Or go to the side and come back to balance. Or rotate and come back to balance. So it's important to realize that balance might be one of the most important things that we do in our day. It's the leading cause of hospitalizations for seniors. It costs, I think, $90 billion a year for people to have a fall and then break a hip. So balance becomes important. And you guys have anything you want to add to that?
I think the thing to keep in mind, just watching all of that, just reminds me of everything we do functionally throughout the day. Not just walking. I mean, it does mimic walking. You can see walking and gait and all of that. But reaching, when you have to reach up into a high shelf, or if you're golfing and you reach down to get that ball, you're getting onto one leg. It's just like what Andrew is doing. So it's very functional the way that we're training balance, which translates very well into your daily life.
And there's no magic machine that's going to do it for you. The body needs to be driven in the ways that it moves biomechanically, and there's no magic pill or magic machine that's going to make your balance better. So hopefully you enjoy these strategies, and I appreciate you listening.
Way to just throw Nick right under the bus,
Let's
man.
go, man.
Whoa.
Here,